Lighting doesn't have to be complicated. In this video, I'm going to show you how I use the new Sirui C300X Mark II along with the C60X and a couple of accessories to show you how we use these to light our content shoots in my media business. Let's get into it right now. So if you've been around on the channel, you know that a reoccurring theme that I always like to bring up is that I like to keep things as minimal as possible. The best balance between high production and minimal amount of gear and that perfect balance, especially because most of the stuff we're producing in my real estate media business is property content, short form videos, stuff for social media. So I want to find the best balance, and that's where these two lights come into play. The C300X Mark II for the main key light, kind of like right now in this setup, and a hair light to give them not only some separation from the background, but just give the shot a little bit more dimension. So one of our clients that we work with is a title company, and we have them on what we call our monthly content plans, essentially where we batch shoot a bunch of talking, educational, short form content for them on a monthly basis. And I've talked about how great these types of shoots are because it provides reoccurring revenue for your business, also keeping your client's brand and image fresh on social media constantly because you're producing content on a monthly basis for them to post for the following month. And for this client in particular, we typically do a 4 to 6 hour session once a month, and we batch shoot like 8 talking informative reels. And it doesn't have to be just talking head content. You know, we have other clients that we do where it might be more engaging property videos or a mix of event highlights, whatever the case is. But for this client in particular, this setup works out perfectly because what I'm doing throughout the day is building mini interview type sets, and usually we'll do these at their office or at a studio rental. And for the most recent shoot, I was at a studio rental in Houston, and it was a really cool space because it had a blend of a lot of natural light spaces, kind of like that white and bright background, but then on the other side of it, it had some sets that were more on the dark and moody feel. So because we actually did a full day, 8-hour day session here because we were shooting 2 months worth of content, I got to build a variety of sets, and this is all that I used for them. And it's so great because it just kept my setup really minimal and quick and easy. Okay, so first off, the C300X Mark II. Been using this for about a month and a half now, and I am really, first off, so thrilled about the fact of how small this is. For a 300 watt light, the footprint of this is insanely small. And also, this bottom part is actually an accessory. This doesn't have to be on there. I just had that for the intro. But just to show you that that's actually not even the light itself. But the fact that you can use this Sirui H99 Pro big giant battery pack to power either one of the lights to make it portable is really, really handy. But just look at this form factor. It's like a small box style cinema camera. The fact that 300 watts are in here makes the footprint of this light so versatile because it's really lightweight, easier to transport, because even the whole case itself is just this big. This case is smaller than my Aperture 60X. So let me bring up, actually, now that I mentioned that, the 2 lights that I've been using before this. But real quick before I put this down, your spotlight dome, your cables, some adapters for other battery solutions like V-mount, and then the light just slides right in here. And that is essentially your whole setup. So this actually has been living in my car, in my trunk, because it doesn't take up any space. But let me show you here. I'll bring this right here. So this is the footprint of the Sirui C300X Mark II, and here's the Aperture one that I've always used, which is insane. Like, I love a good quality light, and I think the Sirui is great, but this is massive, so it just makes these types of shoots so much easier. And then if I bring up the lights, this is the Aperture 300X that I've been using for the past couple of years for content shoots, interviews, anything where I need this type of setup. And this is the Sirui C300X Mark II. So the size difference is insane, along with the case and the footprint makes it easier to move the light around, things like that. So really happy with that overall. Now that I've used this on a couple of shoots, it seems very reliable. The fan itself is pretty quiet too. I love that lighting is kind of getting away from this kind of traditional form factor and now being more slimmed down to something like this. So for being mostly a solo shooter when it comes to these content shoots, really stoked that this is made a lot easier as far as setup, portability, and just moving this around on set for, multiple hours a day. Definitely really happy with it so far. Okay, so now let me talk about some of my favorite features about this light. The fact that you can run some sort of handheld setup whether it's, using it as your key light, even though I wouldn't recommend it this way, it's going to be pretty harsh. I would use it as like a softbox setup. You could use this for photography, have a mobile setup for your lighting versus flash. Another thing is the fact that it's bicolor, because in some of those sets that I was shooting in, we were dealing with warm lighting, so I wanted to match that. That way skin tones stayed really accurate. You have all the way from 6500 to 2700 Kelvin, so you can match almost any scene that you'll probably run into. And it of course is insanely bright. This right here is like 30%, and it's just like, blasting the whole scene right now. But I keep it at 5600 when I'm dealing with window lighting, or kind of perfecting that window light coming in on my subject and then enhancing it with this. Or if I'm dealing with warm tungsten lighting, I can match that as well. I also use this on a recent content shoot for an interior design project where we were doing a mix of photo and video work, and that came in super handy because I didn't have to have a flash setup for portrait work and then this setup for only video work. This was strong enough to overpower the ambient lighting coming in from the windows, but then also I could match the tungsten lighting in the kitchen, and that way you're not dealing with a warm background and kind of cool lighting coming in on their face if this was only set at 5600. So being bicolor and strong enough at 300 watt and portable is a huge win. And now let's talk about the other camera looking light, the C60X. So another really impressive light, because this, again, being portable, 60 watts, bicolor is just all that you need pretty much. So, if I was gonna light this setup right here, which kind of like if I take this away, that is acting a bit of a hair light, but if I wanted to pronounce it, I would have this kind of out of frame like this, and wow, that looks actually pretty cool. I should actually use this in the set. So essentially, I always put it on the opposite side of where my key light is. So right here for my YouTube set in the office, I have my key light right here. So I would put some sort of hair light on this side. So something like that, that looks really cool. Even though this is 1%, it's really powerful. But I also love that you can put some attachments. So there's this silicone little diffuser. Put that on there like so, and that's gonna soften the light a bit and diffuse it. So that already, yeah, that looks really cool. I could have this on a stand right off frame like this, and just makes the set look a lot better, honestly. My monitor's over here, so that's why I'm looking down this way. But yeah, key light, hair light on the opposite side. You have your set for wherever you have. The rest of it's left up to composition, what you want in the background, depth of field, things like that. So if I turn this off, you are still going to get a really spotlight type of look, and that's still not going to be what you kind of want, especially, or maybe just depending on the type of content you're using. As you can see, you're getting I'm getting like a bunch of harsh lines, even though I'm at 1% with the little diffusion dome, but there's another accessory you could use. Here I have the Sirui QR40, which is essentially a mini softbox. Again, I love that all of their stuff is really emphasized on portability. So here you have this. You just pop it open and you're good to go. A little tiny softbox. So then you take this main piece off, put on this adapter, take off this little knob, slide it in, put this back, and now you have a 60 watt portable light with diffusion. And then take it a step further, add the H99 Pro Ultimate battery pack, and you can make that last even longer. And look at that, this is at 7% running through this little light, and that looks like a pretty good setup. I could even probably, actually yeah, 5% looks even better. So I could even use this as a key light for some video work, but if you wanted to really soften your hair light, I could turn this back on, switch this to really warm, like, I don't know, 3500 for example. Can't really get this out of frame, but now you could see I would have really soft light on the side, and this is only at 10%. Wow, so really cool. Got my key light, and then you could use it as a hair light or as a key light itself. So yeah, I love that both of these are super versatile and more than enough that I need for these content shoots. So if you're new to these types of shoots, you might be thinking, well, do I even need lighting like this? I know that these two lights that I showed make it seem pretty simple, but you still have to make that investment into the lights, learn how to use them and set them up on location, know what settings to use in your camera, things like that. Well, you have to remember, if you're creating short form content where it's going to be 99% of the time viewed on a phone, lighting is everything. You got to make sure that that main shot of your client talking. You not only have to make sure that the topic is good, the information is delivered correctly, audio sounds good, things like that. You got to make sure that it looks professional and immediately catches that viewer's attention. And if you keep things as simple as I showed in this video, especially if you're just starting out with a main key light and a hair light, no matter where you're shooting, you should be able to somehow use that same formula to kind of fine tune it, adjust it a bit, but be able to get professional and consistent results anywhere you shoot. Okay, and there you have it. That is how I've been using the Sirui C300X Mark II and the Sirui C60X for content shoots, for short form content in my business. I don't think I'll be tweaking this setup at all because it's been working great. Honestly, it's replaced my bigger lights. These have now proven that they are versatile and reliable, smaller footprint, easier to carry and move on set. And the fact that they're both portable with the battery grip and with the built-in battery for this one just makes them all that much more versatile versus always having to plug it in or use big V-mounts. So if you're looking for a simple 2-light setup that isn't overwhelming but will make your content look more professional, look no further than these 2 lights right here. So that's it for this video. Leave a like if you enjoyed, comment down your thoughts, subscribe if you haven't already. I would love for you guys to be part of the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next video. See ya.